Hello, good evening, all, and welcome to this live technical discussion series. So today we are going to talk about a very important subject, stability certificate. So of course there are many questions when we are preparing the stability certificate. That what should be the standard format? What is the validity of the stability certificate? What happens if maintenance is not carried out? What happens if environmental conditions have been changed over the, let's say, service life of the structure? And accordingly, there are so many other questions like what happens if quality of construction is not up to the mark, and if it is required to issue the stability certificate, then what precautions or what special remarks we should mention in the document. So accordingly, we have received a number of interesting questions, and we will be having Dr. Abhay Gupta with us from Skeleton Consultant Private Limited. Okay, so shortly he will join with us. Okay, so before we start, just let me make a small announcement here. So we are going to start this online course for the design of connections for steel structures from the 10th May 23, and link is mentioned on the screen. Okay, and this entire course is conceived based on the practical difficulties which we are facing for the connection design, especially for IS 800 2007. Okay, so you can refer this link for more details. Okay, and if you have any further queries, you can definitely contact us. Okay, so let's get started now. Okay, welcome Dr. Abhay Gupta to this live stream.
Good evening, Bhavin. Hope
Yes, very
everything
good.
is fine. Everybody is
Yes,
enjoying life. Thank you very much.
yes, yes, yeah. Okay. So regarding stability certificate, I hope you could have a chance to go through that document, right? The queries which you have received.
To
Yeah,
some extent.
yeah, okay. So the majority, one of the question is what should be format of the stability certificate. I think that's one of the question which is repeating number of times. The second question is what should be validity of the stability certificate. So can we have few general remarks from your side before we get into any technical discussion?
Yeah. This is a very relevant subject, and these days, subsequent to some of the challenges on the constructed project side, many of the authorities have started taking a stand about the formalizing the system of getting a stability certificate from the structural designers.
Mhm.
Sometimes they ask for it in the beginning. In some of the authorities, that stability certificate is asked in the beginning with the approval submissions, and it is also required toward the end of the project when it is completed and ready for the handover. Many a times in industrial structures, this stability certificate is a part of the completion of the project document,
Right.
which is required from the pre-engineered building supplier as well and the structural consultant, both. So depending on the purpose, there are various formats depending on the expectations, depending on the stage at which this stability certificate is required. But whatever be the stage, whatever be the format, as the name suggests, stability certificate. So there are two words, stability and certificate. Whenever any certificate is issued by any competent person on any front, may not be structural engineering, that certificate is always limited to the knowledge and wisdom and skills of the person who is issuing the certificate. So always there is a disclaimer in the certificate that to the best of my knowledge and wisdom, I am issuing this. Sometimes The certificate has to be issued based on certain specific objectives. May not be the whole building, some part of the building or structure. The stability from the point of view of performance also has been sometimes asked. Sometimes the stability of the foundations. Then, like in a industrial structure, pre-engineered building is supplied by somebody else. So the PEB supplier does not specify the stability of the substructure. And the substructure consultant, if he has not reviewed and approved the design, then he does not certify the stability of the superstructure. But there has to be a combined stability certificate, because ultimately the stability of the structure will be an integrated phenomena
Right.
of substructure and superstructure. So the word stability per se means that stability of the structure in bracket or in the inverted commas for a given life, for a given set of service loads, under certain circumstances. So any structural engineer who has been asked to submit a stability certificate should very clearly understand those parameters, those limitations, and those objectives for which the stability certificate has been asked for. Maybe we can take some specific queries, and we will also share some of the sample formats.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. So let me share the queries which we have received, right, to registration form. Yeah. Okay. Is the document visible now?
Yes, yes, it
Yeah.
is quite readable.
Okay.
Significance and rights to issue stability certificate. What I have spoken partly covers the significance and rights. Significance of any stability certificate is to specifically mention the structural stability for performance, that is the serviceability, and the
Mhm.
strength, that is the design. But that is very specifically, it should be subject to some codes, some loads, and maybe some specific conditions. As far as rights, any competent structural engineer. Now, what is the competent structural engineer? In fact, anyone who is designing or issuing the good for construction structural drawing should take the responsibility and issue the stability certificate. Whether client's objectives are fulfilled by that person's qualifications or any kind of recognition. Like if I talk about the Mumbai, then in Mumbai there is a specific requirement of a structural designer to submit the design of a project of a building in Mumbai. He or she should be registered with the Bombay Municipal Corporation under certain categories and all that. So, if the certificate is to be issued for a Mumbai project, uh, then anybody cannot issue. A relevant person has to issue.
Right.
So that is the rights part. But otherwise, National Building Code gives definitions of structural engineer, and legally, if you qualify with them, then you are entitled to issue a structural stability certificate. Though recently there was a building, some slab collapse issue in Gurgaon, and subsequent to that, Haryana Directorate of Town and Country Planning has taken an initiative to empanel structural engineers. So that process is going on. They have made, they have not defined any criteria. They have just asked people to upload the documents. No one knows what is their expectation. There is no criteria mentioned. No one knows on what basis they will accept or reject the empanelment application. So today they had a meeting, also a detailed meeting, and I don't know what steps, what refinement would be done. But like Municipal Corporation of Delhi, they have also registered structural engineers. So probably they are following up with the NBC kind of definitions for that. So that defines your right for issue the stability of certificate. Uh, Gidwani, Mumbai, generic draft for all structural engineers to follow. As such, there is a draft, there is a format from like Haryana Directorate of Town and Country Planning. I'll share that in a short while. We also have drafted over years of practice. We have also drafted one stability certificate because as a structural engineer, you only issue the drawings which are good for construction. You never know whether the actual construction has taken place according to those drawings or not,
Right.
unless and until you are also involved in the regular full-time supervision. Actually, there are two different tasks: structural designing and supervision on site and execution as per drawing are two different things. And I personally feel that a structural engineer should not involve into the day-to-day supervision. He or she may occasionally visit to see how the construction is going on, but then that occasional visit cannot give a full-fledged information that the each and everything which has been mentioned on the drawing is being followed or not. So certificate of supervision of a building and certificate of design of a building are two separate things and should not be combined together. Some of the formats in the authorities which are required to be submitted with the approval, they ask for both in one format, which we strongly refuse, that we will not sign as a person who has supervised the construction. We say we have designed and issued. So, and professionally protecting the rights of structural engineers, we make it a point to write, to mention on all the drawings also, that so and so organization, like my company where so I am working, is responsible only for the structural design, and these drawings have been issued by us. We are not involved in the construction. So that disclaimer should be there on the drawings because you are not there full time. Then more draft we'll see, and will I'll like to share with you that what precautions, what word, what sentences, phrases should be included and what should not be. Responsibility of approving authority. I'm sorry, means I don't know how can we comment on that. Approving authority depends. What is their expectation? Um, every state has some different norms. In India, we are such a big country that we have some of the well established um, town and country planning or authority offices, and a major area we have some gram panchayats and other very local authorities who just sign and approve, and they even approve large size projects while there is not a single technical person on in those local administrative bodies. So responsibility of approving authority, somehow there should be a uniformity or that also, but as such nothing is there. Test for certification. I don't know what exactly Mr. Siddiq wants to ask. So, assessment for the exterior surface of the foundation. Assessment for drainage. Assessment is a different ball game altogether. Assessment is something different. So we will not touch upon the assessment kind of thing. Format for stability, I'll be showing, and then things will be more clear. What are the requirements for a structural engineer to be able to give a stability certificate? You should be a structural engineer. Very simple. Now, who is a structural engineer? Definition is given in NBC. You should be a qualified structural engineer. And we respect those definitions and we think that it is okay. But overall, any civil engineer who has just graduated or post graduated, means just completed his education, cannot become a structural engineer. Structural engineering is not simply a theoretical thing, it's a science plus art, applied science basically, which you learn over a period of time after doing design of several buildings. Structural behavior is something which is whatever is written in the books, you only understand that once you work upon it. So, experience is the basic key beyond the basic qualifications. And the same thing NBC mentions. What about stability certificate for structures other than buildings? It is same thing. Any structure, I will not uh, differentiate between a building and other structure as far as stability certificate is concerned, because any structure, it is designed complying to certain codes, certain functional requirements, certain performance criteria. It is true for everything. So those have to be stipulated, those will be mentioned in the certificate, that this stability certificate is valid subject to these things. Some people give only stability certificate without designing the building. I can't comment on that. It is your choice. It is the client's choice from where they want a stability certificate and whether that is acceptable or not. Your experience related to this topic? No, I haven't seen people issuing structural stability. It's not simple. It is criminal, and they also know that if something goes wrong, they will be they'll be severely punished. Guidance to freshers related to getting license from Mumbai authorities. Sorry, I am not experienced on the Mumbai. Somebody you have to contact from Mumbai only. I myself is yet to get license from Mumbai Municipal Corporation. I didn't try. Some time back, some people suggested, but somehow I am keeping busy in other geographies of India. And whenever there is a work in Mumbai, I tie up with some local Mumbai structural consultant and get the approval work done through him. Uh, I'll ask queries Suresh Kumar and Tiruchirappalli. Okay, well,
Yeah.
Suresh, you can type here
Yeah.
if you want.
Yeah.
विरल देसाई विरल भाई का कोई सवाल नहीं है मे बी ही विल टाइप स्टेबिलिटी सर्टिफिकेट शुड बी issued by licensed structural only or any structural engineer who is masters, any qualified structural engineer who is qualifying as per NBC. There is no licensed structural engineer in many of the states. As I said, there is no license. In Delhi itself, where is the license? There's no license. No one makes mandatory that you should be a member of Institution of Engineers, you should be swimming. Now Haryana has started empanelment. There they are asking, you should be a member of Institution of Engineers. And to be honest, many people in that authority office doesn't know the difference between being a member of Institution of Engineers and being a member of other structural engineer association. They will consider, okay, you are a member of the association, it is accepted. So those things are there. But if you are qualified as per NBC, yes, you can issue the stability certificate. Again, it is to the best of my knowledge and wisdom. So there is no prohibition as long as that is accepted by the client. Asif Khan Bhiwandi, why are the services needed from structural auditors report? Why are the services needed from structural? I think why are the or what are the?
I think what are the?
The services needed.
I think he's talking about
Structural
structural
audit.
audit. Yeah.
स्ट्रक्चरल ऑडिट इज समथिंग डिफरेंट, एक्सट्रीमली डिफरेंट. हमने एक बार पहले सेशन किया है स्ट्रक्चरल ऑडिट पे भाविन. सो मे
Yes.
बी
Yes. We.
यू कैन शेयर द रिकॉर्डिंग विद
Sure.
आसिफ
Sure.
खान.
Sure.
Society bylaw number 7 specifies structural audit is a mandatory. Okay. So all the audits related things,
Hmm.
it's a different thing. Okay. Even in the case of we issue structural stability certificate in case of new buildings, new construction, new structures. But same thing is true when you do the structural assessment, when you do the retrofitting and rehabilitation of a structure, then also again you have to issue a structural stability certificate. So There the format is little different. Okay. What are the key criteria or main points of stability check of any kind of structure? As far as structural stability certificate of design is concerned, the only check is it has been properly designed as per the Indian or other international codes and as per the parameters defined in the original set of objectives, which we call as tender document. Sometimes tender documents of several organizations, they stipulate certain more requirements. So if those are all there, you can specifically mention that this stability certificate is issued subject to design done according to these codes and the following criteria. This is not a stability check kind of thing. Stability check is a different thing. Simon P wanted to learn about the stability certificates and its requirements. Sai, very simple. There's nothing to be learned. In a simple sentence, if you have designed a structure, whether it has been constructed according to that or not, that's a separate question. So you can always say that I hereby certify the stability of this structure designed according to so and so IS codes under following additional parameters. Now, how to ensure that the construction has been done according to this? So you have to specifically put a rider that this stability certificate is being issued on the assumption or on the confirmation from client or PMC. Either the client will issue a certificate because if they have the in-house team on the site, or the PMC which is responsible for the day-to-day execution will issue a certificate that this structure has been constructed as per the structural drawings issued by Skeleton Consultants Private Limited. Once we get this certificate, then only we issue the stability. In our stability certificate, you should very clearly mention that either the assumption, if you do not have the certificate, or if you have the certificate, based on the certificate received from client or PMC, that the construction has been done according to this. There is another rider, I can say, or limitation, that this stability certificate in no way ensures legal compliances of the building or structure. You are issuing the structural stability certificate of the structural design. If the building is illegally constructed, means not as per the bylaws, that is none of your concern. That is not, uh, can say, cannot be. If the stability certificate has been issued, it does not mean that building is legally correct. Correct. So there is another disclaimer which should come, that Skeleton Consultant Private Limited is not responsible for legal approvals of this building or structure by issuing this stability certificate. Correct. Is there any IS code which specifies the steps to be followed for carrying out structural adequacy? Yes, there are, but we are not discussing those things today. Validity. Yeah, good thing. Validity. NBC specifies that every structure of this age, of this age, of this age should be reascertained, reassessed after so many years. So, even when you issue a structural stability certificate, we are only saying that I have designed this structure and based on that the stability is this, then it is valid for life, because you are not saying that uh, this building design, but unless and until there has been some additional alteration done, so that is another rider which should be, this structural stability certificate is valid for the design life or service design service life. Generally, IS code, there is no mention, but based on the return period of the loads and the durability of the material strength, the cube test probabilistic approach, so cube test results and all that, it is assumed that 60 years is the design life of the structures. So your stability certificate is also valid for 60 years, subject to There are no additional alterations being done in future. So the moment there is any additional alteration, this stability certificate will have to be reaffirmed. That is it. Stability certificate is to be given as per NBC 2016 guideline, which is design sufficiency certificate. Yes, very correct. This is what Hemant we are insisting, that we are only responsible for structural design and not for any other thing. But our stability certificate should very clearly mention all the riders, as I mentioned, that we are assuming that construction has been done as per the drawings issued, or it is being confirmed, or we are not certifying any legal approvals, and third, that no additional alteration has been done in the structure. These things. Would like to interact during the session, please. Bhavin, you see how we can do that. Format of stability certificate, I'll share some of them. But whatever I am saying, these things should be included. You should never include supervision in a structural stability certificate. Please brief about the terms and conditions to put on the certificate so that we have already. You can very well say, yeah, you are already putting about the project, what project name, where is the address, location, in which year it has been done. All those things are okay. If you want to make it more relevant, you should also mention that the building was designed or has been designed for so many floors. You should mention that so many floors, so that if suppose after 10 or 20 years two more floors have been added and something wrong goes on, then it is very clear that these two floors are additional, they were not part of the original design. Some people even prefer to add geotechnical parameter, that the building was designed for so and so bearing capacity, and not going into much detail, you can just put a wide reference of geotechnical report number so and so from this agency. You can mention that the soil investigation report number and the agency, that you have taken it from there, so that will make the things very complete. Acha, Nishita, what she's asking, please brief about the terms and condition. ठीक है Nishita, I hope you are getting your answer. Regarding when there is no data available on existing building, how many bars provided? uh, this is a different topic, different thing altogether. So maybe we'll take it sometimes else. How to become a structural auditor? It's a big structural audit is a big subject, and you can say it needs a lot of experience and study. How to become is by practicing, by learning through some experienced structural engineer and working on some projects. Though there are no methodical step by step, but there is one guideline very recently issued by Indian Association of Structural Engineers in the name of structural audit of the building. So maybe you can refer to that. Some good points are given there. Minimum how many years required for stability certificate? As a structural engineer, if you qualify as per NBC, you can issue. That's not no rider. Viral Bhai Shah, hello sir. Question: any validity criteria of structure? We have already discussed that. To know the recent developments, I told that Haryana is doing something. Nothing more much in our country. Many structures are being made without much structural engineering involvement. I have seen, to be honest, we did India's tallest bungee jumping tower very recently. Many of you who follow me, you must have seen on my WhatsApp status and all that. Himalayan bungee in Rishikesh, 107-meter drop. It's amazing steel structure on the top of a hillock. But I was surprised that when the approvals were required, all documents were just submitted to a local Gram Pradhan or Sarpanch, and then they were not much concerned about that. Nothing. So there's such a critical structure, and they just kept some documents for their face saving and all that. So the recent developments may, unless and until we have a unified system across the country, it will be difficult. Some of these states really, yes, they have very stringent norms and all that. We face a lot of this few structure engineering from the ignore few code provisions in the name of economical design. Sir, nobody can catch them. If you entertain them, they will continue to do. But as a customer, as an architect, um, as a structural engineer, we need to avoid these people. I very categorically said that if somebody is doing wrong, he is not doing wrong because he knows how to do it, because we entertain the wrong thing to happen. That is why. So, and our client should become more aware about their own. They are investing a lot of money. When they go to buy 50,000 rupees ka TV, they do a lot of research R&D in the market, and then they buy it. But for when they try to appoint a structural engineer, they just go by some references. They don't check the background of everybody. So we can't help them. Provide format. Yeah, we'll do that. Inadequate assessment.
So
एक
he's
बार
he's
format
putting,
देखते हैं.
yeah, he's putting one more point, like, is there a way to standardize mentioning
Mentioning clauses, codes
clauses
in
of
the
code?
certificate. Huh? Yes, why not? See, I'll show you one of the formats. There are some basic IS codes which are followed in the design of every structure, and then there are some specific codes. That is what I'm saying. So we should mention all those codes in the in the first para. There should be building description. In the second para, list up those codes and parameters, specific parameters. In third para, you should very clearly mention about the assumption or confirmation of construction. And then next para, you should mention about other limitations like uh, we are not doing this, that. And in one para, you can include the geotechnical parameters. So that's the standard thing you can make. Uh, we can have a look on one of the formats.
Sure, sure. Yeah, could you see the PDF file now?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, let me share it again. Yeah, this is one of the format, right?
This is one of the very simple format. It is hereby certified that the structural analysis and design of proposed the project detail at so and so place, means address, has been carried out by this company in accordance with the latest edition of National Building Code and the relevant Indian standard codes, including Indian standard codes for structures resistant to earthquake zone, so that जो भी zone है, and other natural hazards. So all those relevant codes, these are the basic codes which are followed. They should be mentioned. In addition, as I mentioned, we should also include here about the in the building description about the building height, number of floors, and maybe total area. Even if it is RCC or steel building, it should be mentioned here. Good for construction drawings are issued by Messrs. Skeleton Consultant on the basis of architectural drawings prepared by whosoever was the architect. And above certificate is being issued on the assumption oblique confirmation. If you get a certificate, it is good. That is the best thing. That a certificate should be obtained from site, that the construction at site has been done as per the drawings issued by the structural consultant. So this is one of the very simple formats where you are certifying the structural stability based on structural design only. And you are very clearly saying that architectural drawing, these architectural drawings were the basis, and construction was done as per our drawings issued from this office. And these are the relevant IS codes. So that's the basic structural stability which is mostly accepted. नेक्स्ट एक और फॉर्मेट मैंने आपको शायद शेयर किया है, दैट इज ए गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट. दिस इज हरियाणा BR5. Said this is required with every submission before the building is constructed, before the building construction is started, before the design is started rather. Okay. They ask architects or the client to submit a structural this format signed by a structural consultant along with the approval. Certificate of conformity to rules and structural safety for all buildings. Okay. Now you see here, there is a plot detail, project detail, client detail, then building plan. थोड़ा नीचे लेंगे. Then they say structural design. So ask us to fill everything. There is the language. It is hereby certified that the plans submitted in Form BR1 for the building detailed above are in accordance with the code and the approved zoning plan of plot. Now, approved zoning plan of the plot, we cannot say yes because we are not the master planner and we do not really get involved into this zoning plan. So, certifying this, nothing. But the next line is relevant to us. The structure has been designed in accordance with the provisions of the Natural Building Code, including the local soil condition, its load bearing capacity, and the underground water table, etc., have been kept in view while designing the same. And they don't have the reference number of the soil report, but now Haryana government has started taking a separate certificate from the geotechnical consultant also. So this is a format which they ask. There is another form along with this. इसमें नीचे है क्या? हाँ है. Yes. Certificate for structural conforming under self certification. So this is again Haryana Building Code 2017 and the approved structure has been designed according to this. It's more or less same. I don't know why they have kept two separate forms. Next. हाँ, इसमें से एक होगा जिसमें सुपरविजन के बारे में लिखा है नीचे. ये हमारा रिलेवेंट नहीं है. नेक्स्ट पेज. Next. So this I am not signing. Next.
I think this is the on this page, point number 3.
Certificate of conformity to regulation and structural safety.
Not,
The construction of building will be undertaken
yeah.
as per the approved building plan, structural design given by. So that is why we do not sign this particular format because they say and God supervised through the following. So here the client should get the sign of their PMC or their on-site engineer, whatever. So we should not sign this certificate. Next. You see here, go up. Yeah, here structural engineer supervising the construction at site. So here we don't sign.
Yes.
The client will say, "अरे आप ही कर दो साहब." No, no, no. We should never. आप में से जो भी लोग इधर काम कर रहे हैं, many of us are signing this document without reading, but this should not be done by us. Next. Next is a specification page. So relevant, we should cross out and retain, and then we can sign this one. Degree certificates.
Degrees.
So I think these are the formats. So you should be very careful that you sign only the structural design related documents. Let's come to the questionnaire.
Yes. Yeah.
Inadequate assessment and changes in environmental condition. Not for today's session. How to formulate recommendation in view of likely update in the code in the recent future. Whatever code has been published, you can take care of that. Whatever code is in the draft, sometimes people take cognizance of some of the clauses there, but again it's a matter of agreement. See, any design, our IS codes are prescriptive. They do not say that mandatory to follow this. They say guidelines for designing. Means engineering judgment prevails. They say if there is an agreement between client and the designer, you can change some of the like if suppose the live load minimum given is 2 kilonewton per meter square. Client says I want 3 kilonewton per meter square. You can do it there. It's nothing like that you should design for two only. Some more such clauses are there where agreement between client, the one classic example, one means not good one, is in the pre-engineered building design that many of the clients are going for AISC based or they say MBMA based design, which is not correct in Indian practice. But they say हमने client को समझाया कि हम इसमें economy कर देंगे and client has agreed. So once there is an agreement between client and the supplier, that will prevail over the IS code. It will certainly prevail over the IS code. So that is the situation uh, in our country. कुटुम्बले साहब will submit later. अच्छा साहब ने अभी कुछ भेजा नहीं है.
Yeah. In
Quality
this
control
case,
and
but in
execution
this
and
case, as you said, that let's say the agreement between consultant and let's say the vendor, PB vendor, which will, or let's say client will, overrule the Indian standard code. But what will happen in case of, let's say, unfortunate event? Let's say there is a complete collapse of the
so
structure,
if
or
there is
let's
an
say,
unfortunate event, then client has agreed to dilute the specifications.
hmm,
Okay, so then it will be responsibility of the client. I have agreed to buy an inferior product. Market has got all qualities. If I go and buy an inferior product, and the consequences will be my responsibility, not of the seller in the market. It is my choice.
right. So that needs to be properly documented.
Yes,
Yeah.
and client should know that actually the PEB vendors should understand that it is a matter of country's reputation. For some money, they just mislead the client. If some of the PEB designers, some of the PEB vendors are there in the meeting, they should understand that why they want to use other country code when there are enough provisions in Indian code. They say, no, 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 Indian code provisions make the building heavy. They do not make the building heavy. They make the building relevant to the Indian conditions. It is Indian wind, it is Indian earthquake, it is Indian steel
Right.
material, it is Indian workmanship, it is Indian nut bolt, it is Indian maintenance. How can you apply American or some other country which is giving you the lesser? And then they start even doing a hybriding. सर ये वाला क्लॉज ना इंडियन कोड का अच्छा है, वो वाला क्लॉज दूसरी कंट्री का हम मिला करके यूज कर रहे हैं. आई डोंट नो व्हाट इज दिस. दे आर डिजाइनिंग द फाउंडेशंस एंड एवरीथिंग विद द इंडियन कोड. व्हाई? Go to ACI, you will find better provisions. Why don't you use ACI provision in the RCC design? No one will talk about the use of ACI 318 in the RCC building design. Everyone is following IS 456. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Quality control in execution and its responsibility. If you are PMC, if you are involved, it is your responsibility, but not of the structural designer. Pakka. Policy governing the regulation of foundation work. But when I say not of the structural designer, it doesn't mean that structural designer should not have concern. But as a safeguarding the profession, as a safeguarding self, you should make necessary provisions. You can only certify for what you are accountable. You cannot certify other people's work. So you should understand कि आपने क्या किया है इसके बारे में आपको पता है.
Yes.
Are there separate statutory regulation for structural safety for the structures being used as a public amenity? No, no, they are all covered in the code. If I am saying complying to this code, that code takes care of whether it is public amenity, factory, warehouse, residential, everything. So as long as you are following the codal clauses, you are taking care of all varieties of the things. Thumb rule for approximate stability check. Nothing. इंजीनियरिंग में ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Stability check has to be established by numbers only. What are the steps that should be taken from the government side for a better policy of structural assessment and stability certification and making it compulsory and effective? There is a policy. NBC specifies that. In India, we are the, you can say, lacking in the implementation of the policies. We are unable to take a decision that across the country only NBC will be followed. Still, that is not there. Maharashtra has different set of rules. MP has different set of rules. Haryana is making their own set of rules. Delhi has their own set of. Why so? Why so? You all can follow NBC. What is the harm in that? Checks to be carried out for stability. For structural stability, only one check is required, that you yourself should have designed the structure correctly, and you should qualify to be a structural engineer as per NBC. Hi Raghuram, how to make ensure that every owner is complying to stability renewal in real sense? Sorry, there is no such provision. No such provision. Stability certificate and quality of construction correlation. Structural design certification and subsequent construction quality is not linked. But your structural drawing should have sufficient remarks, notes, specifications. Your general notes drawing should be adequately explaining the construction details with all those good parameters. You see, metro construction going on. So there absolutely there is no quality issue because everything is very well, all SOPs are well defined. So same thing has to be done for the buildings also. There should be quality certificate first and then the structural stability. There should be construction conformity certificate first. That yes, it has been constructed as per the drawings issued. Now, whether M25 concrete which was specified has been achieved or not, that is a matter of assessment, audit, separate thing. What are the conventions and norms being followed in India for residential and commercial building? I'm not aware. After proof checking the structural design, if conflict rises between the designer and proof checking authority, and the designer decides not to change the design, who is held responsible? We published from Indian Association of Structural Engineers a booklet, Guidelines for Proof Checking of Buildings. And there we have very clearly specified the roles of principal consultant, proof consultant, owner, and the contractor. All the four. So if you refer to that document, probably this will be addressed. But when there's a proof checking, its difference of opinion may be there and conflict rises, but all those notes should come in writing. Finally, the owner, the client has to say that which uh, opinion they want to follow. And there is an independent structural stability certificate which should be taken from the principal design consultant and proof consultant. It should not be like that a proof consultant will endorse the structural stability certificate issued by the principal designer. No, they both should issue separate. And if there is any such thing which has been conflicting, the proof consultant can surely mention that on that, or maybe they can refuse to issue the stability certificate. Important essential issues for finding stability issues during the analysis and design of structures, program code of practice checking of natural disasters like this periodic health monitoring checking. So declare structure to should be demolished. See, first stability certificate is the moment design has been done and construction has been completed. First, beyond that, a regular checking and re-establishing. In Factory Act, there is a provision that industrial buildings should be the structural stability of industrial buildings should be certified after so many years, 5 years or 15 years or something. But how many in India are really getting it done? It's an eyewash. No one is checking. So there's a provision but not being followed. Similarly, in NBC also there is a provision for buildings not being followed. And there is no specific format for standardization. Can we all engineers agree upon a solution in which there is a specific one? Yes, yes. I told maybe after this session, whatever is discussed, we'll circulate a model draft also. Stability format and renewal of stability certificate. Structural design certificate is issued once only in the beginning, because after that design is not changing if there is no additional alteration done. But if there is an additional alteration done, then the renewal of stability certificate just should be done by proper assessment and analysis and in situ concrete strength of that time. Okay. During these periods, maybe the code revision has taken place. Then the structural stability certificate complying to latest code of practice becomes a big issue. But in some of the cases, it has to be done. It is not exactly the, you can say, structural assessment, it is a structural upgradation. A building which was okay, safe, designed well for an earlier version of the code does not become unsafe with the new code. But if there is a requirement to upgrade it, then there is a compliance issue, which probably these days in government buildings it is being done. Old government. How to protect the structure during hazard and how to arrest this issue in future? By proper designing, nothing else. There are provisions for every hazard. You cannot have the 100% proof, but you can minimize the effects by proper provisions. Prerequisite for issuing stability certificate. I already explained. As per NBC, you are the competent person. There is nobody else who is going to issue you a license unless there is a specific area where you are practicing. Choi Jose Pune. Why do local authorities not scrutinize structural ground? Because they don't have the competent people in house. They are getting so many of approvals every day. They can't do it. They need to hire. They need to take the services of practicing consultant. They have to empanel, like Haryana is doing. All states can have the empaneled structural engineers, and then they can outsource the work. Very simple. How can one structural engineer undertake make sure to issue a certificate like this when he is responsible only for his structural design? Yes, correct. So I'm very clearly saying no, don't issue a supervision certificate. Only issue the structural design certificate. What type of NDT test can be conducted? Separate topic, so we can deal in differently. Construction material test data not maintained at site. See, not an issue of the structural designer. It's a matter of PMC. It's a matter of management of the site. Can stability certificate be provided by a non-chartered engineer? Yes, yes. Being a chartered engineer is not mandated every time. If you look at NBC, you are a structural engineer. If you are this, then you can do that. Being chartered engineer is not required. Standardization of stability certificate by institute. Some of the government departments have done that, but again they have inserted some extra words like supervision, zoning approval, zoning plan, which are not concerned with us. So they have formats. Mumbai probably has a better format of structural stability. In case certain data is unavailable or inaccessible. For structural design certificate, you don't need to access the building. You should only just see once that the building has been constructed physically. Just that much. Connections and stability. Could not get Mr. Paul from Germany. What he wants to say. Standard checklist for preparing the stability certificates and role and responsibility. I have mentioned you should specifically mention about the building detail, codes, soil data, construction confirmation, then what are not, so those disclaimer about the legal approvals, not about the additional alterations done in the future, then the certificate will be null and void. If there is any additional alteration done, then the certificate will be null and void. Are the certificates reviewed and revised with the lifespan of structure? Regular assessment should be there. श्रुति, अच्छा, श्रुति दिल्ली में आ गई क्या? Life span of structure. A renewal is okay after some time. Every structure should be renewed. Stability should be checked. First stability certificate you issue for 60 years. So maybe after NPC says after 30 years, then after every 5 years, like that. What about the structural built by the non-technical supervisor? You can't help it. Code for stability check, procedure for stability check. How is stability check done? Stability check is different thing, my friend. Tanuja Singh Gurgaon. So it's a different thing. It is nothing to do with the stability certification. Okay. Padamji, namaste. Stability certificate of retrofitted building. Yes. It should be very carefully issued. Uh, what was the first you describe the building and then what was the need or the objective of retrofitting? It should be very clearly mentioned. Height change, any internal change, aging, usage change, that should be very clearly mentioned. Then you should say retrofitting has been done. Now, in that, there are two things: whether you have upgraded to the latest code or not, that should be mentioned. And then in service life should be mentioned that after all these whatever retrofitting has been done and executed site, a service life of 5 years, 15 years is expected. That's very, very important. Now, how to do that? How to ascertain? It will depend on your analysis and the retrofitting which has been adopted. So retrofitting certificate is a bit different thing and very carefully drafted with all the description of retrofitting requirements, details, and the limitations. Extent of physical sample checking shall be addressed. It is required, but not in the initial stability certificate. It's a requirement. It should be done by the client. Stability of steel structures, same way as any other RCC structure. The certificate will be same. If it is an aggressive environment steel, then maybe you can additionally mention that external finishing should be restored after every 5 years or like that. अगर आपने epoxy करवाया तो maybe after 10 years 15 years, so that external should be maybe specified additionally. Load bearing factor, how to send load one column to other in commercial building. Unable to understand the question and not relevant to this session also. Stability of high rise building, it's equally you can say important and on the same format, same lines as that of the low rise building. Fresh construction, new building, you have to mention about the geotechnical becomes more important. um, Codes are different nowadays. Some additional codes are there beyond the basic. And wind tunnel testing, but as far as structural stability certificate is concerned, it's not required to be mentioned specifically that whether the wind tunnel testing was done or not. Once you say design has been done as per IS 875 and IS 16700, it's okay. Kindly discuss the checklists that are required for while visiting the structures for stability certificate. Structural stability certification of existing buildings is a different thing. Then you need to do a lot of things. So maybe we'll avoid for now. After giving stability certificate, what if the structure fails due to poor material usage? Ah, will be an inquiry of- about about the design also. You will be held guilty for some time, but then if the design was okay and all records were properly maintained, then you will come out no issues. That's not an, nothing wrong with that. Once a some goof up takes place, some failure happens, then everyone concerned is investigated into it. Avinash Singh, can we provide structural stability before construction? Yes, there is a provision. There is one structural stability certificate being submitted with the approval. There it is written that I will be doing the design as per this. I will be doing. You are not saying it has been done. So there is a minor change. So there is another stability certificate at the end of the project with the OC application. There you have to, there you say it has been done. So there is a difference. And in the first one, you cannot ask about the construction confirmation as per drawings. Ahmed, validity. I have explained already explained the validity. Certificate after audit for whole building. Change in structure after stability certificate is issued. Yes, you have to mention very clearly. If there is any change done, this certificate will be null and void. Any structural change done, this will be null and void. Manish, an engineer with BTech having some experience. Yes, as per NBC, if you qualify, as per NBC, BTech with some experience, that is span of experience is important. You qualify to be a structural engineer. What about the present condition and also should we write the validity period of this certificate? Yes, you can issue conditional stability, but what are those conditions that have to be clear? You cannot specify a condition that uh, this structural stability certificate is valid for 5 floors only. नीचे की 5 फ्लोर के लिए ऊपर के लिए नहीं है ऊपर के लिए नीचे के लिए नहीं है लेफ्ट विंग के लिए राइट के लिए नहीं नॉट लाइक दैट सो योर कंडीशंस शुड बी रियलिस्टिक Kishore Behraji, Bhubaneswar, building has been constructed as per old code. How the structural safety certificate? Structural safety certificate is different thing of an old existing building, and structural stability of a newly designed and constructed building is different thing. I recently came across a case where the construction was done about 8 years back, and the structure was not complete, and recently it has been completed. Now they want an OC. For OC, they want the signature of the structural designer and the proof consultant. Unfortunately, that building is in Haryana, and only empaneled proof consultant or the structural engineer can sign. I am one of them. So many people approach me. Their their original structural consultant is not registered in the Haryana so far. So they wanted my signature. I observed everything. Then I insisted that I'll check all the designs as per the latest code now in the latest software, and also in addition to that I will get complete building entity testing done because I don't know what has happened in 8 years. So how can I sign? So ultimately they backed out. They said नहीं नहीं सर इतना नहीं होगा. We were expecting कि आप तो फीस ले लो और साइन कर दो ये सर्टिफिकेट. So I could not do that. Rakesh Pune, what is the responsibility for this certificate? What is the responsibility for this certificate? You have the complete responsibility. If you issue a certificate with a sign, you have the full responsibility. Secondly, there is a supervision certificate. Sometime, no, we cannot sign the supervision certificate. How to avoid? You have to be strong. Maybe you lose the project, let it be. No worries. But you can't put yourself in trouble. Okay? Never take that risk. Existing building stability procedure. Complete assessment has to be done, as I explained. So that's a bigger game. Stability of bridges and buildings, more or less similar. Stability of bridges, you will need to specify more and more parameters, maybe some hydraulic parameters also. So whatever is the structure, you have to specifically mention about those relevant things and codes. In case of excavations adjacent to existing building, how the stability certificate can be revoked? Stability certificate of which building to be revoked? Existing I think existing you are asking. You need not revoke. If there is any damage in the existing building, today morning only I have visited a site of this case. A residential building, ground plus 2, 40 years old, and on the adjoining plot there is a builder floor construction is started, and the builder constructed basement ground plus 4 floor, 6 floor, and the adjoining building developed cracks, and one central column, which was one of the main column, bursted, buckled. Matter is in the court. I was called as an expert. So the stability certificate of existing building automatically goes null and void. You don't bear any responsibility because of the damage caused by somebody adjacent building. Nothing. How to assess strength of footings, strata of an existing building. There are ways and means, but today we are not discussing that. To learn structural stability of structural foundations and other functions. Design stability, there is nothing to be learned. You have designed well, it's okay, good enough. Undertaking documents to be taken from contractors and client before. Yes, I told na. Get a certificate letter, simple letter, that all the construction of this building, building का नाम लिखा होगा लेटर में, मेल में, that has been done according to the structural drawings issued from skeleton consultant. आप एट द मोस्ट और ज्यादा उसको स्पेसिफिक बनाना चाहते हैं, यू कैन अटैच द लिस्ट ऑफ ड्राइंग. क्लाइंट को बोलो ये मेरी ड्राइंग लिस्ट है, ये आप अटैच करके इसको सर्टिफाई करो कि आपने ये ड्राइंग के हिसाब से ही बनाया है, एंड नो चेंज हैज बीन डन. और अगर कोई चेंज किया है तो गेट एस बिल्ड ड्राइंग फर्स्ट, check them and then issue. Simple. Certificate registration requirement memberships. Which certificate registration? Not clear. Dipujaj can write separately. Umesh Kumar, validity of stability certificate. First certificate, it is for life as long as there is no change done. Because it is a design certificate. How can we ensure the validation period of a stability certificate? You don't need to ensure. You just simply giving yourself that you have designed the building for so many years. That's all. Process to be followed for issuing stability certificate. As long as design stability certificate is concerned, just you need the confirmation from site. That's all you can issue. How to overcome these issues and get proper stability? Which issue? There's one question from the same person. No, somebody else in Jaffna. That's a different thing. But which issue I am not able to. It is under discussion for quite long to split stability certificate in two parts. One is stability of design, and other one is stability of construction. Correct. We are only discussing stability of design, and as a structural designer, we will issue that only. Contractor is accountable. No, more than contractor, PMC is accountable for that. Chetan Kapadia, Surat, difference between opinion certificate and stability certificate. I haven't heard opinion certificate, but stability certificate is yes. Stability certificate of new building is structural design. Validity I have already mentioned. Audit report is different thing. Assessment. How to provide stability certificate in case of the retrofitted structure? I explained in the response that this should mention some very specific things. Why is retrofitting has been done? What retrofitting strategies have been adopted? What is the expected service life now after retrofitting? So those kind of things should be mentioned. I want to understand the requirement of stability certificate, gaps in preparing the certificate, scope and validity. Gaps, as I mentioned, you should be clear that your stability, design stability is connected to these parameters and not to these. So you should specifically mention them. That's all. You should not hesitate in writing that I am not responsible for this, I'm not for this, but I'm for this. May be possible to do, may be possible do it, make one document prepared. We'll try to do that. Even the peer review consultant will be equal liable as main consent. It is. And that is where I'm saying both of them should independently issue the certificate. rather than same certificate to be signed by both. What point should be kept in mind while inspecting the structure for safety? Safety certificate is different, and there are so many points to be kept in mind. Maybe we can separately take up that. How to reduce the structural stability maintenance cost? ये क्या चीज है पता नहीं. Mohit Kumrawat, Indore. Hello Mohit. Any specific format or code for referral? There's no code, but there are some state guidelines. Maybe NBC, I think they have a stability certificate format. But the guideline by Indian Association of Structural Engineers uh, should be having one format. Codes have changed, has been changed. So how to relate old design building with new? I explain. You need not change your building, but if there is a requirement of upgrading, then the new stability as per the new code should be issued after the retrofitting has been done, or you have already checked it. Okay, allow Goa. Carvalho, we interacted in the past also. Putting a noose around our neck when we sign a stability without a construction engineer. No, no, you should not. Without a construction engineering contractor certificate, you should never issue a structural stability certificate. Or if at all you issue, you should make it very clear that this is based on such and such assumption. We are only responsible for issuing the structural drawings and not for the site condition. There is no change being made. All those riders you should very clearly mention. Don't make your structural stability certificate a smaller one. Let it be a 4 5 paragraph thing. Dr. Dhawan, sir, namaste. How to assess safety of structure? No. Bridge health monitoring. Health monitoring is different thing, very important, being done on many bridges in India. We have, I think, very good resources on that side. CRRI and other people. Acha, Hiren bhai, validity of the stability certificate and limiting the responsibility in regard to the structural design only. Yes, I already explained about these things. Then this point, tall building maintenance challenges. Alag hai, not stability, but yes, there are. What are the guidelines for issuing stability certificate after local partial complete retrofitting? Guideline is simple. Once you are doing issuing a stability certificate for retrofitted structure, you should very clearly mention what retrofitting, why, those things, and then service life and all that. Even in that service life, we put some rider. If there is no major event like this happens, this building will survive or serve well for the function intended for 15 years, provided number one, no major earthquake, प्रोवाइडेड नो मेजर एक्सीडेंट. अभी कोई ट्रक आके आपकी बिल्डिंग में घुस गया तो क्या करेगा स्टेबिलिटी सर्टिफिकेट? यू कांट हेल्प इट. सो दीज आर एक्सीडेंट्स, सीवियर नेचुरल हैजार्ड एक्सीडेंट. फायर हो जाता है, अंदर ब्लास्ट हो जाता है आपके मकान में, स्ट्रक्चर में. योर स्टेबिलिटी सर्टिफिकेट हैज नथिंग टू डू विद दैट. योर डिजाइन डज नॉट कंप्लाई टू दोज थिंग्स. करेक्ट. सो दोज थिंग्स यू कैन मेंशन. Location of the structure where everyday required cleaning of roof structure. So what? If it is a functional requirement, you have to make provisions according to that. It doesn't affect the stability. Without analysis, you want to issue the structural stability certificate without analysis? We don't do that magic, sorry. Stability certificate for additional telecom tower means on the terrace, rooftop, it can be issued. We are doing some exercise on that. You have to analyze the tower over the top of the building, check the building for the entire, change the forces, and then you can issue. And we are doing that for many things. There should be uniform methodology for stability certification. It should be, yes, we agree, but not so. Okay, we are at 146 and I'll just take a 2 minute break. I'll bring a water bottle for me. है ना? Just give me that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay, so till he joins back. So for IS 1893, part 1 and part 2, the draft code is released. So we are going to have a live discussion on that on 18th May. So if you have not yet registered for the event, please register, and then please share your queries, your discussion points. So we will have a detailed discussions on the same. And let's say if you also would like to present your views and if you want to address the audience, then also please contact us separately. So we'll give a time slot, and then we will uh, arrange the entire session or schedule the session accordingly. Okay. So there are a number of or significant revisions which are made. So we are going through the same. Okay. Meanwhile, okay, so that's a question from Rakesh Kumar, that can you share a good format of stability certificate? So as number of queries are coming, we'll try to prepare one of the standard format or draft format for discussion.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
back.
yeah, please.
So 147, no doubt as of now. 148. So when Mr. Muhammad Amir Sohail writes no doubt means he should be having a good format of the structural stability certificate.
Yes.
So maybe we can ask him to share at least if he has
Yeah.
something good.
Yes.
Structural audit we are not considering right now.
Mm.
Civil contractor should also party while issuing stability certificate. Indirectly we make them. We say that we ask them to confirm that the construction has been done according to the drawing. So they become a party. But by themselves, in India, only EPC contractors are issuing the stability certificate, not the normal contractor. And the PEB suppliers, because they are manufacturing and supplying as per their own design, so they are also issuing. What shall be the actions? For what? What are the key points should be remembered during the giving stability certificate and how to go with the safe side? Explain enough, I think. Expecting good discussion, then any change in the durability of steel structure due to increased loading limit. If there is any change in the loading, then the entire stability is affected and recertification with the reanalysis has to be done. Many of the industrial clients are coming to us that they are going to install solar panels on the roof, and for that they want to ascertain the structural stability, and we are doing that for many of them. Explain how digital technology can enhance the authenticity of construction documentation. I'm not expert, but I have recently heard a very good presentation on the digitization in the construction industry, and really that's doing great. There's a lot of scope and good things happening. Validity of structural stability certificate explained already. Joining it for learning. Jigar from Surat. Okay, Jigar, welcome. Assessing the stability of old buildings. It's to be discussed separately. How does the stability certificate of the building can be issued, by whom is the right person to give NDS? Who can issue? I have already explained. Right person. You yourself, the structural designer, is the person. How to give stability certificate without structural drawings and NDT? Not possible. Existing building, then you have to do the as-built drawing preparation, you have to do the NDT, and then only do the analysis, and then only. What is the criteria for any structural engineers to give stability? As per NBC, if you qualify, then you can issue if you have designed and you are confident about the design. Typical format and content of stability certificate to be issued to educational buildings for AICT. Any building for anybody. If it is an educational building, then it should comply with the requirement of the code as per the educational buildings. Dr. Nakul Ramana, probably AICT must have asked for a form stability certificate. So any structural engineer can give, provided there are authentic design documents available and have been checked. Describe about the visual inspection and cues from visual inspection of the distance. अलग से बात करेंगे इस पे. Always important to give stability certificate. Okay. Mridul Shade. Application of SHM techniques. Okay. Who is regulatory authority to submit the structural stability? SHM not in the structural stability certification. It is SHM for the structural assessment, where we'll be discussing separately. And regulatory authority to submit structural stability. Generally, it is asked by the approving authority only. Those where you submit your maps and all that. Town and country planning, maybe local municipal corporation or whatever. Documents and testing, Yash Agrawal, Athanu Chakraborty, relevance of stability certificate in PB. It is. It is very much. And it becomes more important when you are not designing as per the Indian code. So the structural stability certificate should be very carefully drafted for PB buildings. Very carefully. How to certify a very old building without any modification in the structure? NDT does not modify. NDT is must if you want to assess any old building. Krishna Saikari. In Goa, as per building regulation, the structural engineer has to sign an unconditional liability certificate. Certificate mentions that concerned structural engineer will supervise the construction. Okay. If you have to give this certificate before the construction, you should charge the fee accordingly. You should make your client understand that in addition to structural design, I have to do this additional work. I have to deploy staff on site, and then only you can do this certification of the supervision. There's no harm. But what happens? People don't pay and they want a supervision certificate. That's wrong. For old building, how do we get stability certificate for newly imposed solar panel and wind load? By analysis. You have to reanalyze the building. If the drawings are not available, get the as-built drawing prepared. Get the NDT done, and then we can set. How to check stability with various instruments? It's not stability which you are checking with the instruments. You are assessing the strength of the building, quality of the construction, those things, and then doing the analysis and then doing the certification. Is there any international national standard for assessing the results of NDT? There are many. There are many for NDT and UPSP. Very good books are there. I'll not suggest the names right now. I'm missing, but I have some two, three good books on that. Complete. IS codes are there. Other country codes are there, which help us to in interpretation. Often we find Rishikesh. Often we find difficulty in getting the drawing from clients to assess the structure stability. If client is not able to give drawing, offer them as built drawing preparation and charge them. Even if they are not ready for that, then don't do this work. Life may structural engineers have a lot of work to be done. There is huge amount of scope for structural engineers in this country. So do not dilute the quality of your services. Charge good fees and do good work. Please share a specific discussion point related to stability. I don't know, share means what? You can share the video recording. Tests required to perform before and after construction of buildings was to obtain permission from municipal authority. For municipal authority permission, there is no specific set of the test to be done. Some municipal corporations might have specified, and those can be submitted. There may be water test, there may be cube test, and all those things. Simple. They do not really mean the structural stability. They're just doing the formalities. There should be clause for retrofitting and rules for implementation. There are clauses. There are proper documents. Very good national and international documents available now. Stability certificate should be renewed yearly or bi-yearly. No need of yearly or bi-yearly. NBC says after this many years, but otherwise, if there is any change made, done, any damage occurs, suppose there is a huge earthquake which has occurred and building is damaged, then you have to do the reanalysis, retrofitting, and reassessment for the stability. बाकी रिपीट हैं चीज़ें. Hoarding or any structure stability in absence of any design and drawing data. You can't do that. You have to have the data, and hoardings are very dangerous structures. So unless and until you have checked the structural design yourself with the available design drawing, you should not. Which authority issues stability certificate? Structural design stability certificate is issued by the structural design himself, or designer, no one else. How authentic? Stability certificate, qualification of person issuing stability certificate, mandatory document required for stability certificate. मैं समझ नहीं पाया क्या क्वेश्चन है, बट हाउ ऑथेंटिक स्टेबिलिटी सर्टिफिकेट? It's all very well documented, defined in the NBC. Follow that. I am practicing as structural auditor, NDT and rehabilitation consultant. Till date, we have designed, audited, tested more than a person who has not designed a structure, not witnessed. क्या कहना चाह रहे हैं संजय अग्रवाल जी? नहीं नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. आप जिसने कुछ काम नहीं किया, he cannot do. If he is doing wrong, and that's none of our business. You can expose him, no worries. ये तो कुछ ज्यादा ही लिख दिया इन्होंने. And do not come in the competitive mode with others. I am telling you one thing. If some people are not doing good thing, they cannot harm you. You just do good work. There is a lot of work to be done, and as an individual, as an organization, you cannot do the so much of work. You can do some part of work, small work. आप 10 प्रोजेक्ट कर लेंगे, 20 कर लेंगे, 40 कर लेंगे. कंट्री में बहुत प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं. फोकस ऑन योर प्रोजेक्ट्स एंड डिलीवर गुड. दैट्स द बिगेस्ट थिंग. ओके. नाउ व्हाट आई सी ऑल आर.
Yeah, all are
अच्छा,
pretty.
ये हो गए. नाउ चैट में कुछ आए हुए होंगे आपके पास,
Yeah,
अभी जो some people were typing.
yeah. So what if the structural consultant changed midway? Then how to deal in such situations if stability certificates is issued in advance?
That advanced certificate is again the language will be designed. And if you are entering at the later stage, when the building has been designed or half constructed, you have to get all the structural detail, confirm them on the site, and then do the reanalysis, your own analysis, and then issue the certificate if it is all okay.
Okay. Then in case of arbitration, IS code or NBC, which one prevails?
All IS codes are part of NBC.
Yes.
They are NBC is just one big compilation. Rest everything is the same. When tall buildings were allowed by Gujarat regulation, it became mandatory to get proof check done by empaneled structural engineer to get building permit. ठीक है, good.
Okay. Then what is format of construction conformity certificate? Who will provide? The structural engineer has
Where,
right to
where, where
ask.
is this required? I don't know who is asking for a construction conformity certificate.
Mm,
If you are asking as a structural designer, just simple
mm,
two-liner you need that. And I said, in addition, you can also share your drawing list and ask them to confirm that the construction has been done according to this. So this is it.
yes. Okay. Anyway, he said eye opener comments on PEB design, what we discussed. Then Sumant is telling just like MEP consultants provide DBR, is there such format for structural engineers that will simplify the assumed date loads on the structure and all stakeholders can adhere to that?
Actually, the DBR started from structural designing only, and we prepare a wonderful DBR. Every design should be preceded by a DBR, design basis report, where you are defining structural system, loads, other parameters, analysis method, all the things. If the building is longer and you are providing expansion joint or not providing, what you are doing, everything is mentioned in that DBR. So many consultants, they have got excellent DBR formats. So it is there already in practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Status of stability certificate after revision of BIS codes mean for structural design.
Stability certificate remains valid
Hmm.
because it is issued on that day, unless and until the building undergoes any change or there is a requirement from client about the upgradation of building to the new code. The certificate is valid as it is. Nothing wrong.
Yeah. Okay, Chetan is asking, some authority ask for the stability certificate of the building which are old, more than 30 years. So
Yes.
can we give the, okay, that's what he was talking about, opinion certificate.
No, nothing like opinion certificate. It has to be an stability certificate after due diligence. Once a building is 30 years old, you should carry out a proper due diligence,
Mhm.
including the assessment of the concrete and looking at the building, check for the any damage, distress, and everything. Any additional
Mhm.
alteration made in the building. If there is any major earthquake event has happened, is there any
Mhm.
damage done? So after doing that complete due diligence, then doing the analysis again as
Mhm.
per the new codes, then you can issue the stability certificate.
What happens if structure fails to meet stability criteria?
As, see, if you are assessing an old structure and it fails, then you have to strengthen, retrofit it.
Mhm.
We recently did three buildings of a campus. One building was good, 100 years old, heritage building, masonry structure. There was no provision of the seismic resistance 100 years back, but that building in practical have sustained three or four major earthquakes. But the building is in good sound condition. So that building will remain with some minor things. Another building 45 years old, that needs significant retrofitting because it was not able to meet the stability requirements as per latest code. Third building, again 45 years old, concrete quality poor, all elements failing, so we recommended replacement complete. So this is how what happens if the structure fails. के तीन आंसर सामने.
Okay. The last point, can you share a good format for stability certificate?
Will do.
Yes. Yeah.
Will do.
So we, yes, sure. So we have covered all the points now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So good that people have been quite curious. The only thing is they need to understand the difference between structural stability certificate for structural design and
Mm,
structural stability assessment of the existing structures. They are two
mm,
different things.
mm, mm. Yes, sure, sure. So
Yeah.
thanks a lot for sparing valuable time with us. Yeah, and we had very
Thank
detailed
you for
discussion on
making
stability
me
certificate.
interact with all the participants.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
nice always to
Yes.
be on this platform.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I love to be again on that 1893 discussion.
1893. Yes. Yes.
18th
So
May, it is very important. And I would
yes.
request all the participants to go through the document, prepare their comments and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So we are ending the session now. Good
Thank
night.
you.
Good. Well, you're most welcome. Yeah.